Welcome to the first in our three-part Virtual Excursions training program. My name's Jackie Randalls and I've coordinated this program for national delivery as part of my role managing Inspiring Australia in New South Wales. For those new to Inspiring Australia, it's the national strategy for public engagement with STEM. We work with hundreds of community partners to connect scientific researchers to big audiences. And today's training is all about doing just that in the virtual world. It will be produced and delivered by Fizzics Education, Sydney Science Education and Refraction Media. And I'd like to acknowledge support from the New South Wales Office of the Chief Scientist and Engineer and Inspiring Australia's state programs in New South Wales, the ACT, Queensland, Western Australia and South Australia.
Now, I was just wondering that I talked about a green screen here, and I'm not going to share my virtual background. Heather, who is heavily involved in lots of things in the media, Refraction Media does some wickedly cool stuff, but something that she might go through right now is literally the virtual backgrounds and where they're useful. So Heather, go for it.
Thanks, Ben. Great to join you all today. And since the last event actually that we did, I have been taking Web 101 room setup essentials courtesy of Karen Player. But like many of you, I found myself in the situation quite recently of having to work professionally from home when you have a lot of challenges as well. And when you have a small team, then that can certainly be a challenge. So as Ben said, I'm Heather Catchpole. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Refraction Media, a STEM specialist content company. I work generally on production, design and development for virtual excursions and video conferencing. And I also work as a presenter and moderator. We work with the Cooperative Research Centres, the Australian Association of Deans of Science, ANSTO, and many of the Australian universities. And I also run the Careers with STEM website and magazines. So we work a lot with people who are having to make the best of what they have at the time. And I encourage them to get out there and present anyway. Like many of you experiencing COVID-19, I've been a bit of an introvert, extrovert. I do love presenting. It is a challenge. I've seen some tweets from people who are just like, oh, I've never seen myself on screen so much, having to virtual, video conference all day, every day. For one thing, get over it. Everybody looks how they do. People enjoy hearing you speak, and generally, presenting 101, 70% of the audience are cheering you on and want you to have a good experience as well. There's some things that you can do to make yourself feel more comfortable. Obviously, you can dress so that you feel presentable and respectful. Obviously, when you're on video, you want to avoid patterns and stripes and complicated things. It is better to go for a plain colour. Set your room up so that you feel like you're in a professional space. The secret that that the other panelists know is that I'm actually working from my garage with a workbench right beside me here. So make the most of your space that you have. And Karen's going to take us through that in a little bit more detail later on. But one of the best fake it as you make it tips that you can use in Zoom and Microsoft Teams, for example, is virtual backgrounds. Now, it's pretty simple to set them up. If you are designing for a screen, do make sure that you design well for screens. You want to make sure that you're designing tiles at 150 dpi. Most web materials will say 72. I always do a little bit more. People have very good quality screens, and if you have a lossy resolution on your logo, for example, it's really easy to tell. Look for great colours in your virtual background and make sure that you're wearing something contrasting as well. Otherwise, you'll get that laggy effect. So on Zoom, it's pretty simple. You just go down to your video setting, choose virtual background, and you can pop your virtual background is now. I'm just having that, I've just upgraded to Zoom 5, so I just had to quickly download that. Fortunately, it didn't take long. So here's one that we prepared for the Inspiring Australia. Now, when you're presenting with a virtual background, you'll see immediately that as soon as my hands go out as I was presenting before, it starts to look a little bit bad. So aware of that, be aware of that kind of laggy effect. Try and keep your hands quite close and present just in front of yourself, and you'll avoid disrupting that virtual background. It's great if you can have a tile which matches all of the design that you've done for your particular event. So think about your branding, think about how you can use that in the best possible way. If you do design something for screen like this, you can use it across multiple platforms, which is very useful. Think about what you're trying to say with your virtual background. With the Careers with STEM, we're talking about students thinking about getting themselves into different career areas. So we created some virtual backgrounds which were like rocket scientist, class expert for the poor teachers who were suddenly having to present to multiple students from their background. Handy thing is it will block out your children/dogs/messy back of the room as well. If you do put text or logos onto your virtual background, be aware of how they look to the audience. You will see them as opposite. They will look the right way to the audience. If you want to see how they look to the audience, you just tick mirror my video in the Zoom settings. Not every computer can handle virtual backgrounds. So have a look at what you've got available. You'll need to have an Intel 5 core processor. Otherwise, you get that terrible effect where the virtual background actually takes over your face as well. Another thing to think about is just really the appropriateness of the backgrounds you're choosing, and also just to be really respectful of people's internet bandwidth and capacity. You can get great virtual backgrounds like this which have a moving element, but you know, if I'm presenting something about work and I look like I'm here at the beach, maybe not so appropriate. Also, you might get a terrible laggy effect to the video if you don't have that internet speed. So be aware that not everybody has the same capacities when they are presenting, and just think about what's the best option to choose for you. It is a different feel. When I'm presenting here from the room, there's a sort of sense of, you know, we're coming from somewhere quite intimate. This is inside my house. Ben's got quite a professional setup. He does this every day. It does enable you to just, you know, take away that intimacy, but in some situations this might be the best way to do it. You might say, hey, look, you know, we're all having a chat. You want to engage your audience. You really want to get people, you know, talking with you. So, you know, don't be afraid of sort of opening up your space like that. I think that's virtual conference backgrounds 101. Do feel free to post any questions that you have about design, you know, formats, things like that. And I am handing back to Ben for the next section.
Sure, I would love to hand back, but I actually can see, because this is the beauty about moderators, I can actually see Jackie's got her hand up, so you don't get off the hook yet.
Heather, we've just got a question from Colette. Colette asks, can you use multiple backgrounds in a single presentation?
If you mean, can you change your background as you go? Absolutely. Can you combine backgrounds? Not unless you're going to create that file itself. We did have a question also last time about having a logo on without taking up the rest of the screen. You can do that as well, and we'll pop that link into the chat too. I can just see another question too just coming up, Jackie, so hopping into that. If you want to check on your camera's processing power, easiest thing to do is try adding the virtual background, and you'll soon know if it doesn't work.
Colette's follow-up question was that she meant changing the background as you go, kind of like a slideshow.
Absolutely. Why not? I love that idea. Takes a second. If you want to, you know, start talking about astronomy and the amazing options in astronomy, and then you want to quickly flip through to a marine science presentation, if you have everything ready to go, absolutely, just pop them through there. I did an art coding program with this particular background is from. It's a bit garish, but you can certainly use that as part of your presenting as well. And I've seen some teachers using those to really good effect during this time from homeschooling.
So I might see if I can add to that too. Of course, this is a 101 session. If you want to get a little fancy, there are certainly software that will allow you to stitch picture on picture on picture and do some very cool stuff. One of the free ones that's available is called OBS. OBS will put the link in for later, but it's open broadcasting software. It does a very good job. There are paid platforms such as Wirecast that'll allow you to put the thing over the top of the thing and it looks awesome and fantastic and great. But as with any software that you use, the more things you put in, the more things that can go wrong. So usually start off simple and go from there.
Thank you for joining us for the Virtual Excursions training, supported by Inspiring Australia. You can find more information and top tips on the Virtual Excursions Australia website.